So I've been installing this Vintage Air system into this '68 Mustang, the same one I did the gas tank work to, and we ran into a few little problems. The way this car is set up, it's got this tie bar up here, and it's between the shock towers, and the compressor with the factory style brackets. This engine is a 302 out of like a 93 model Mustang, so the brackets are designed to put the compressor right here. The problem with that is this has an aftermarket power steering system on it, and there's no room for that compressor. So I contacted Vintage Air, and they sent me a custom-made bracket. Now this bracket was not set up like this. If you look at it, this corner right here was actually over here. So that means this all came out to this side, and there was another corner here. This mounts to the factory holes on the cylinder head, and then the top section here, it had these holes, and this assembly went on top of that. Now with that, it had this piece of pipe, and this piece of pipe was attached to this as an adjuster. What I'm getting at is this bracket had that pipe on it. It kind of looked like that. With the room that I have between the engine and this crossbar, having that bracket assembly on, it wouldn't clear. So what I did is I cut the pipe off, and I just welded it directly to the bracket assembly. I also, of course, separated the bracket. You can see where the old bar here was welded. I cut all that loose, moved it over so I would have some clearance. Now, when you fit this in here, it not only clears the power steering, it also clears this upper bar, and the compressor will mount directly on those two pipes. And when I did this, of course, I had to line everything up with the serpentine belt, and it lines up very well. You know, you can see where this basically would sit in line. So hopefully all this can go together. And then the next step is getting some braided hoses and some fittings, getting everything crimped up and then assembled. At this point though, I want to get the bracket a little more cleaned up and painted and get it assembled to get it on the car. Okay, there's the bracket, all painted up, bolted in, and then I'll set the compressor in there and show you what that looks like. Okay, there's the final assembly of the Vintage Air AC compressor. Get everything mounted up, everything lined up real nice. Belts lined up real good. Of course, got everything else in up front as we had shown you before. Turned out real nice, and it works good. So I'm happy with it. Had to get the braided lines, so those are a little bit of a task to put those together, but they run back to the firewall, and there's all that mount. Everything's in place, so it runs good, makes some cold air, and that should finish out this project.